Cuando sintió mi alma tu desdén, lloró gotas de sangre el corazón, y la ilusión querida que dio aliento a mi vida.
Emma Graziana Diaz de Ancona is my great-grandmother. We call her Chichi, which is Spanish for grandmother. Chichi was born in the Yucatan. Her mother's name was Neri Diaz Tule, and her father Juan Esteban Diaz. Chichi was the eldest of 12 siblings.
My grandfather was on a horse, or there was a festival going on in the town, and one of the horses went wild, started running around. He tried to stop him, and he got kicked in the stomach. And from the internal injuries, he died. He died at 30 years old, leaving 10 children. My grandmother had to go to work, so the whole family packed up and they went to Merida, the capital, where they had some relatives who helped them get established. And my grandmother went to teach school. My mother, who was the eldest, had to take over the running of the household, so she raised the children.
Chichi was a hard worker. After her father was killed, she took very good care of her siblings and mother. She was loved by all in her community. Chichi was even crowned a princess in the town parade.
Si tienes para mí un pensamiento.
When the kids were all grown up, when everybody was grown up, three of my uncles left Yucatan to go to New York. And they were working, they were making money, so they sent her a ticket for her to come as a vacation to New York. So she took a ship from Progreso, which is the seaport in Yucatan, and the ship stopped off in Havana, Cuba, and went up the east coast to New York. And there on the dock was her brothers, and they brought her to where they were living. There was a young man there living there called Efrain Jose Ancona. When they met, my mother, being the good sister, started to do the laundry for my brothers. But she thought that there was much more laundry than she thought. What happened was my father was throwing his laundry in with his friends and getting them washed by my mother. So that's how they met. They fell in love and they got married. And the whole Yucatecan community, they had a big wedding.
On December 4th, 1929, Chichi and her husband Efrain Ancona had a baby boy named George, now who I call Papi George.
Oye mi rumba matumba que dice bururu kung fu bururu kung fa. Oye mi rumba matumba que dice bururu kung fu bururu kung fa. Oye mi rumba matumba que zumba bururu kung fu bururu kung fa. Oye mi rumba matumba que dice bururu kung fu bururu kung fa.
Actually, 3 years after I was born, my sister was born, Nettie Alicia, and she was sickly. She had a heart problem, so my parents were very devoted to taking care of her. She wasn't able to walk. She had problems with the circulation. When she got to be 13, doctors said that there's a new technique for open heart surgery, and they asked my parents if they would be willing to do it. Well, they didn't want it, but my sister said she was 13, she was growing up. She said she wanted to have a normal life, and she would like to have the operation. Well, they spent she spent 6 months in the hospital. The doctors were building her up, and finally they did the operation. And the tragedy was that during the operation, she died. And that was a big blow to all of us. I was 16 at the time, and she was 13, and my parents and Chichi were just devastated. That was one of the most difficult things in my life. And it was the most difficult thing for my parents, and particularly Chichi.
At the age of 21, my grandfather George got married to my grandmother Pat. Chichi and her husband were very involved in their lives. In 1962, my father and his family moved from Queens, New York to Stony Point, New York. Shortly after, Chichi and her husband moved as well to be closer. My father remembers Chichi's favorite show being I Love Lucy. That was the life she wanted to live.
I love Lucy and she loves me. We're as happy as two can be. We have our quarrels, but then, oh, how we love making up again. Lucy kisses like no one can. She's my missus and I'm her man, and life is heaven, you see. 'Cause I love Lucy, yes, I love Lucy, and Lucy loves me.
I love Lucy and she loves me. We're as happy as two can be. Sometimes we quarrel, but then how we love making up again. Lucy kisses like no one can. She's my missus and I'm her man, and life is heaven, you see. 'Cause I love Lucy, yes, I love Lucy, and Lucy loves me.
He said you cannot find romance. Oh, you can in Yucatan. He said your feet cannot to dance. Oh, you can in Yucatan. And if a girl she smile at you, but you cannot to follow through, amigo, take a trip to where you can in Yucatan. If a guitar you never play, don't be a sad American, for you can play a serenade on any uke in Yucatan. You think that Adam had it nice? Why, all he had was paradise. Can you do better?